G'day guys, this is a video on the Australian subprotein vaccine from South Australia. So somebody asked me about it recently in a comment, and I did promise that I would be reviewing and looking at this at some stage. So, I decided to take a bit of a squeeze and see what's available, what's actually being said, where are the trials. And we do now have completed sort of phase 3 trials. So we can actually get stuck into it, and I'll just basically share my screen and we'll look at what's happening and where is it. So it's a protein subunit. That's the company, vaccine, and in Asia, Southeast Asia primarily, and other parts of Asia, it is basically promoted as Spikogen. Okay, so Sinogen Co. is the company that's actually producing it for vaccine, which is the company that developed it in South Australia. So this is the brand name that it's going under. In Australia, it is known as COVAX-19. Okay, so we've had all the different trials. There was one trial for phase 1. For phase 2, there was 1, 2, 3. So 2 in Iran, 1 in Australia. Phase 3, we've had 3 trials. So there's this one here in Iran, there's that one there in Iran, and there's that one there that is called the 3B study in Australia. It's only been approved in Iran up until this stage. It's got one approval country at this stage. And this is the actual study itself. I can't get the full study, unfortunately, so I've only got the abstraction to look at. So it was basically, they did a phase 2 and then they did a follow-on phase 3B in Australia. So they pretty much used a similar crowd and just did a follow-on study after they'd done phase 2. That would have cut down the cost of actually recruiting people, which was the main thing. This is the actual study that they've actually submitted to the TGA, the Therapeutic Goods Administration, which is Australia's equivalent to the FDA. So that was submitted, I believe, in late November of last year. And yeah, knowing the way our Therapeutic Goods Administration deals with protein subunit and traditional vaccines, they take their time. I'm hoping that they don't take their time too long for this, because it does have some really good features. Now, they've looked at basically at the Delta in the phase 3, about 60% efficacy, preventing symptomatic infection with Delta variant. And also it did reduce the severity in others, so that, prevented completely the symptomatic infection, people getting infected. And they did actually mention something here that it really was, I found annoying, where they said mortality rates can be as high as 20 to 30% in the elderly people. Well, not really. If that was that high, why our all-cause mortality much lower? Let's take the US, for instance. It was basically between 2020 and 2019, it was basically 0.01. So 8.91. Then it went up to, I believe it was that, or was it 2? I can't remember, but it was, I can remember one increment. So I've done a video, so you guys you've probably already seen it. And then it was 0.01 in terms of 2001 to 2002. So the level, the percentages are 0.01% between those 2 years and the subsequent years of last year with the previous year. So we're not talking about massive increases in all-cause mortality. So where do they see these big numbers? you know, we can see similar numbers in a bad flu season. So, and elderly people that are very frail nowadays tend to basically fall off the perch for a number of reasons. So is it from or with, you know? And the problem is a lot of this data is the with, not the from, because when you look at the from actual dying in ICU from the actual disease, the numbers are way lower. And that's official data, as I've shown the British data in the past. So yeah, I did find that a bit annoying that it was in the abstraction. But anyway, in our world today, we tend to basically put those points maybe because of virtual signaling with the authorities. Yes, please look at our study. We really follow the agenda. Yes, anyway. But beyond that, there are some features, very nice features. Now, when we look at this actual COVAX-19 vaccine, completely blocks virus transmission to non-immune individuals. This is something we have not seen with the other vaccines. The other vaccines do not do this. The other vaccines can still basically, you can be vaccinated and you can still basically transmit to other people. You can still basically, so this is quite clear that they've actually seen this effect. This is research in Indian research. So various vaccine platforms are geared against C19 vaccine development to produce immunogens in cells to design a recombinant protein-based C19 vaccine proprietary limited use computer models of the spike protein and its human receptor, ACE2, to identify how the virus infects human cells. Based on this, COVAX-19 vaccine is synthesized. It does reduce not only the actual C19 disease, but also blocks virus shedding and transmission. So it's actually got features that can actually do this, and we'll go into it shortly. Anyway, researchers are optimistic that the vaccine candidate could be clinically available soon with sufficient vaccine efficacy. It's got no, when it comes to Delta and Omicron, it's going to have no, I mean, currently the older vaccines, the mRNAs and all that, they actually are falling below 50% in terms of efficacy for Delta and Omicron. So they're actually, a waste of time, basically. So this is actually above 50%. So it's still basically a player, so to speak. But as we know, you can still get the disease whether you are vaxxed or not. Our vitamin D and our taurine protocol still stands with me, and you then get negative tests like this, as you guys know. So let's stick to that. These are more, if we're forced to take these, does this have some additional optional benefits? Basically, especially people that may have elderly parents and stuff like that who are a bit more vulnerable. Something like this means if they're not shedding and they're not transmitting, and it's a safer option, obviously, because it's a protein subunit, not an mRNA or a viral vector or whatever like that. It's more of a traditional form, doesn't get into your body and replicate like mad, so to speak, and create, because we know now from more of the clinical research and some of the actual anecdotal information that it does shift from a viral infection to an immune and causing immune problems, these long COVID issues and stuff like that. So we know it actually does cause some issues and they become immunological. So if you can actually reduce shedding and transmission, you can reduce those immunological effects in the population and amongst your relatives as well, especially older ones. So it has some better features, some better efficacy compared to the other ones in that regard. So, okay. That's the emergency authorization, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to go into that. You guys know all about that. crap. It consists of a harmless insect cell-based recombinant spike protein in SARS-CoV-2 in combination with vaccine's proprietary non-inflammatory AdVax. So this is a new feature that they've actually added to it as well. So you still get the immunological reaction and immune response, but at the same time, they're reducing localized inflammation. So that's what this feature is. So they've added, it's another feature that these companies come up with. Polysaccharide adjunct derived from delta inulin. Okay, so you want a bit of fiber, we'll inject a bit of fiber into you as well. The immunity against SARS-CoV-2 is because of the generation of neutralization of antibodies and T cells that prevent the virus from attaching to the ACE2 receptor in the respiratory epithelium. Yes, yeah. Lung cells. Further, the use of anti-inflammatory adjunct AdVax, so they've actually included an anti-inflammatory in their preparation, is believed to cut down the vaccine administration problems like high fever, fatigue, muscle aches, which are commonly observed in the currently approved vaccines. So it'll actually reduce the localized inflammation in that regard. So an added benefit for your little weaklings out there that always complain, oh, it hurts so much. Anyway, get over it. This one will basically take away all those concerns as well. The team identified and confirmed the role of SARS-CoV-2 spike proteins with the help of blah, 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 this method of analyzing it and scanning it and that sort of stuff. Determining the target team utilized Oracle cloud-based supercomputers and artificial intelligence to develop this product in only 5 weeks, which usually takes around 15 years. So a lot of innovation. Oops. Using AIs and supercomputers. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go through all this. It's just your general run-of-the-mill. These are all the customized things and their pitfalls. They cover, people can read that. I'm not going to bother. These are all the other previous vaccines and some of the issues with those, storage, blah, blah, blah. Now, we will go down to here, and this covers in page 2. They talk about the Tehran 400 participants between 18 and 65, evaluated immunogenicity safety with 2-arm double-blind placebo-controlled study. The results are not yet declared in the detail form, but the team has ensured that the vaccine is very safe and tolerable, along with no transmission of C19 between individuals. They also suggesting that COVAX-19 will provide effective herd immunity. That's a big statement. We'll see how that plays out. According to the company, recent news, COVAX-19 vaccine will enter, because that's still a small group, to basically make that statement, of herd immunity. But, I'm not, maybe it does. And if these studies are successful, the vaccine will roll out in Iran under the brand of Spikogen by the Sinogen company. So that company will be producing it, as compared with other emergency approved blah, blah, blah vaccine candidates against C19. COVID-19 leads a lesser vaccine administration-related side effects due to the anti-inflammatory adjunct present in the vaccine formulation. So the anti-inflammatory adjunct and synthetic spike protein elements, the vaccine formulation, also indicate this vaccine can have better safety margins and tolerability. So for you weaklings out there, you'll be able to tolerate this much easier. So it's blah, 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 all this. I'm not going to get into that. So pretty much ethical approval not applicable, since they're looking at data that's been provided. Data availability, they don't have any that they've generated themselves. They didn't get any funding, and so they don't need to provide any of these things. They just provide references for people to look at, and they're just referring to what they've actually got from the company itself and information like that. This is also some information from the company. So they've actually talked about this AdVax, which I talked about before. That inulin thing is believed to cut down vaccine administered problems like high fever, fatigue, and muscle aches. You weaklings out there, toughen up. Have double Novavax. I'm just joking. Don't get upset. I know that some of them out there will be spiking like mad. God, what is he saying? More spikes in me? Yes. Don't get your knickers in a knot. Anyway, we've got to be a bit comical about this and a bit humorous. It's a new age. Okay, so we're definitely producing immunoglobulin G and A. So we're definitely, producing the sort of antibodies we would need, and sensitizing the immune system in terms of innate as well. So good to know. Here's your sort of diagram of SARS-CoV-2. Its attachment to the ACE2 receptor, and obviously when you've basically got, that's the attachment site, and then the priming of this actual spike. So we can inhibit it here, and what this does, it actually causes an inhibition. It cleaves that off, so it causes an inhibition. So it seems to basically be causing a sort of an inhibition. So that's probably helping with reducing the transmission and shedding that would happen to the non-immunized. So that's a feature that this one has. Yeah, so I'll attach this as well if people will read it. It's just basically more to explain what we're talking about, that SARS-2 cell enters depends on ACE2 and TMPRSS2, and is blocked by a clinically proven protease inhibitor, and that's what's happening here, okay, at the site. So it seems to have this, which will minimize shedding, viral shedding, or viral transmission to other people. So it has a dual effect, this one. It's sort of priming the immune system to tell it, yep, this is what it looks like, this is what you want to target. And then on the other hand, when it does come in, it's sort of trying to eliminate this problem by dealing with that inhibitory effect of, so, but obviously they haven't provided, like this study hasn't provided a full details. So I'd really like to know some of the biochemistry involved and some of the actual physiological effects that are actually taking place. So there is no, it's talked about, but there's no reference. They've given me a diagram here, but I've got really nothing to go on the mechanisms that are involved. So, obviously once we have the full study published and stuff like that, probably be able to get a bit of a copy by then, which will allow us all, including myself, to basically go thoroughly through and understand the mechanisms that this vaccine is basically using to achieve this sort of non-transmission and non-shedding. So it'd be interesting to actually know. So what I'm saying is it is a protein subunit like Novavax with some different features, you know, sort of anti-shedding features, anti-transmission features. So it actually has more than just sensitizing the actual immune system to the spike. Obviously, it's not replicating, so it's not an issue. So it's not going to create a massive viral load to create problems in the body like the other ones do. So it's localized. It's also causes less localized inflammation. So the body eventually responds to it, clears it up in its normal immune response, develops, you know, antibodies and sensitizes the T cells, the innate immunity to recognize it. And yeah, and it has some inhibitory effects to the actual virus itself from being able to replicate, shed, transmit, and stuff like that from a person that's been vaccinated with this. But I would really like to go into those details. As I said, it would be very interesting. So what I'm trying to say is, you know, it's probably maybe an option for some people, especially who have got elderly and may be concerned that it's not that, you know, I mean, they're concerned about only that. They've got frail elderly. They may say, well, I'll do Novavax and then I'll consider this as a booster, which basically means that even if I pick something up, I'm going to put it less at lower risk. Some elderly parents or whatever. What I'm saying is, I can't. This is what they're saying. I can't confirm any of this in that regard. It seems to have some good features if they work like that. If it truly works like that, if it's truly can actually provide that sort of herd immunity level, can truly basically lower or eliminate the shedding and the transmission. None of the others have done that. So yeah, it seems like it's got some very interesting advanced features compared to the other ones. So I'll leave it at that, because obviously this is just a preliminary review on my part in regards to this. And I'm not going to claim anything. I'm just saying, this is what they're saying. This is what they're presenting. This is where they're at in their development and their submission to get it approved also in this country, in Australia, beyond Iran and potentially Australia in the not too distant future. I have no idea about the rest of the world. So the main site that I first showed, which is where it's got that, I did a video ages ago and showing that site, which has actually got all the information about all the different, the stuff in development, the stuff that's been approved and everything like that. People can just go to that, periodically check it and see at what stage and whether it's going to be looked at in their country. You go to that last bar, which actually has the countries that have approved, and they will put countries that are considering it. You usually get 2, and the top one's approval. Then you have to scroll down to get to the next part, which shows the countries that are basically approving or considering or whatever. So that's all I've got, guys. It's an interesting new protein subunit vax variant. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Once I get my hands on more information, detailed information on how it actually works, I will be doing a video and covering that point, because I think that's really an important aspect, you know, because the other protein subunits behave in a very similar way, but this one's claiming that it basically prevents shedding and also prevents transmission, something that the others don't do and have failed to do. So I would really like to know how the mechanism actually is working in this, and whether there is any potential side effect in the way it's working as well. So I'd like to know that before I could truly 100% recommend it, because maybe that little element may be the thing that excludes it for me. You know, at this stage, I don't know enough about how that's working. Could that basically, I'm not saying it's going to modify the immune system in some way, which may be a negative there. Could be, I don't know. It may just be for this virus and then doesn't really have any applicability to any future behavior of the immune system. But I would really like to know how it's working, just for peace of mind rather than anything else. So I can't endorse it at this stage. I can't recommend it at this stage. All I can say is that I'm going to be reviewing it again in more detail when I've got more information and when I can actually really give you my opinion. This is my personal opinion at the moment, even with what I've stated at this moment, based on the best knowledge that I've got and the best understanding that I've got of this from the limited information that's available. So once I have more information I can actually do, you will get the best analysis that I can give you at that point. At this stage, I can't give you that definitive analysis. At this stage, I can only give you that it looks pretty good in general. There's just those couple of things that I would like to be clear about how it operates in the body. Once I'm clear about those and comfortable, then I'll give it the thumbs up. If I'm not comfortable, I'll give it the thumbs down. You know, the old Roman way. Anyway, yes, throw it into the ring with those lions. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Anyway, see yous.